welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 238, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/238. David, democracy's dead, bro.
Yep.
Democracy is dead and Romania killed
and women killed. Oh, sorry, what? Just kidding, chicks. Don't get involved. Your panties in a twist. I was just kidding.
Although we will make light of this and trying to not let it be so dark and for and blame it on the women. This is a very serious issue.
How much for the women? I can't help it. All right.
As a matter of fact, it's a serious issue in the way that it's dying, because again, if you're a longtime sane spacer, there's no love lost. Again, I don't think David has gone deeply into his own personal beliefs and feelings about it. I am of the opinion that democracy is subtly better than totalitarianism, and in most cases, not even really. But so, no love lost on me for it dying, but the way in which it dies is key, because it can die in a direction that does get worse. And that seems to be the direction that Romania is going, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Who would have thought? Little Romania over there.
Just minding their own business, doing their thing, just doing Romanian shit. And now look at them.
Fucking just, it's funny how democracy is such this, we can't let it die. We can't let it do this. We always got to support it. And it's, you know what? No, we don't. All you got to do is live by it, and democracy will thrive. If you don't live by it and you ain't about it, then don't talk about it. Yeah. I don't think most of the people in America really can, myself included, because I'm an idiot. I'm a dumb American too. But I don't think most of us can actually define what a democracy is. And nor do I think that they really realize that we're not really a democracy. We're more of a republic, right, Dane?
That's what the United States is supposed to be, yes, a constitutional republic, where the will of the people in a classic democracy is tempered by the fact that there are specific rights that are protected, and that no matter what the majority wants, you can't violate those rights. Yes, that is the American experiment in self-government.
So the more you know, stop being a dummy and worried about and again, it's just one of those taglines. I'm getting so fucking sick of it. Like, oh, democracy's dying. What do you care? They aren't interested in democracy. Nobody that's trying to run these countries is interested in democracy, clearly. So
here's the interesting point about this story. I mean, there's many interesting points, but the one just right off the rip is the people that you generally hear wailing and gnashing their teeth about the death of democracy are the most silent about this. And in fact, cheer what's going on in Romania, because as we pointed out on this podcast many times, their definition of democracy is to make sure that their people, the regime, the intelligentsia, whatever, maintains power, and that anybody that goes against that, even if democratically elected, is not true democracy. So when just keep this in mind, keep the Romanian example in mind the next time you're on X or anywhere else and you hear the Rachel Maddows or the Joy Reids of the world lamenting the death of democracy and blah, 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 blah. Ask them where they stood on Romania. Mm-hmm. Ask them what their thoughts were. And you will quickly find that they're not Democrats, small d Democrats in the way that they claim to be. They are totalitarians hiding behind the smokescreen of democracy. And their viewpoint on what's happening in Romania is, kind of outs them in that regard.
And if you think we're full of shit, just look at the reaction to this last election.
Yeah.
Well, we tried to save democracy and democracy died. Did nobody vote this last election? No, but Trump won. It's like, did he not have the majority vote? No, he had the majority vote, but he wasn't Democrat. What the fuck are you talking about then? So democracy is only, like Dane said, and it can be whittled down all the way to this, which is really what it is that democracy is them keeping power and you doing what they say, which is not democracy.
Yeah.
Which they're not interested in. Again.
So what I'm going to do for you first is I'm going to give you a 50,000 foot,
just break it down, Dane.
Cliff Notes version of what's going on. And then I'm going to read at length from an article from the Libertarian Institute, which, by the way, if you're getting foreign policy information from anywhere else, you shouldn't be. the Libertarian Institute, run by Scott Horton, the libertarian foreign policy expert.
Scott Horton.
And all the people he's put around him are great people. And if you want foreign policy, not from, a State Department, talking points checklist, but actually from somebody who researches it and comes at it from the perspective of pro-freedom, pro-liberty, that kind of angle, anti-war, then, getting your information from the Libertarian Institute or getting your takes on what's going on around the world is going to serve you much, much better than anything you'll hear in the mainstream. So the Cliff Notes version, basically a quote-unquote right-winger in Romania, which again, to these globalists' mind, a right-winger is just anybody who is more nationalistic in his bent, in the sense that he cares about his people and wanting to do what's in the best interest, in this case of Romania, to the detriment of the globalists that, want a one world government that they control. So a right-winger is winning the election last November. The authorities, seeing that he's winning that election, immediately cancel said election. And then they reschedule the election for later this year in 2025. And as he's going in to turn in his paperwork to file as a candidate for the election redo, and they're seeing in the polls that he's winning again and is probably going to win the redo too, they arrest him and put him under what is called judicial control, because they don't want to be seen as being too barbaric. So they're going to defer to George Orwell in terms of coming up with what they're going to call it. And he's under judicial restraint or whatever the heck they call it. So anyway, you have the will of the Romanian people literally being stolen from them in broad daylight. And what's underlying all of this, why? Like, you might ask, why, WMD boys? Is it so offensive for somebody to say, I'm running to be elected in country X, so I'm going to put the interests of the citizens of country X first? What's so offensive about that? Well, in this particular case, the global government, right, under the aegis of the European Union and NATO, is wanting to expand its military presence closer to Russia's doorstep, as if they've learned nothing, into the country of Romania. And this particular individual is not a big fan of that because, again, he doesn't see it as in the interests of the Romanian people. And for that apostasy, he is being put on a stake by, the globalists. So that's kind of what's going on. And now, before I get into the quoting at length from the article, David, you got anything on that, just kind of initial toe into the water?
Well, seeing as you said that, yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like they're doing all the things that you don't do in a democracy, but they're still calling it democracy. So, newsflash, dipshits, there's going to be a war or there's going to be some kind of conflict in about, you want to give it 6 months, maybe a year, before something pops off in Romania. And then somehow we've got to go in and somehow we've got to quell things down there. And then we got to put somebody there that's going to make sure that things don't pop off so much anymore. And then all of a sudden we're going to have Air Force bases there, Navy bases there. And then all of a sudden, and again, those who do not learn from the past are condemned to repeat it. Before long, we're going to be pissing Russia off again if this ceasefire does actually go through this week. We're going to be pissing off Russia again, doing like Dane said, the one thing that they said, hey, we don't mind this fucking NATO stuff. Just don't come any closer to our border. And they're like,
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Dad, no, I'm not touching him. Oh, God. Anyway, so, but this is the shit. These are the things that you forget about or that you never hear about. And then 10 years later, you wonder, how did all this start in fucking Romania? Why does Iran not really like us very much? Oh, well, why don't we go back to the 1950s and 60s where the CIA intentionally staged a coup because we wanted all their resources. And then they knew that we staged the coup and haven't liked us since. But no. Let's trust all the authorities and let's trust all the Mike Bakers of the world that say to Elon, well, maybe you shouldn't just tear down every government construct because we've got our hands in a lot of pots around the world. We can't lose our stand in America. Like, you do realize, Mike, that most of the world doesn't like us. And most of the world doesn't want us anywhere fucking near them until they get attacked by Russia or China or somebody that they can't defend themselves against.
That, by the way, we provoked. So.
Thank you. We start a fight that they get their asses kicked for. And they're like, can you help us? I'm like, no problem. Give us money. and we'll give you all the weapons you need, and we might sell some to your friends too. Oops. I mean, we'll just sell it to you. We'll help you out, but we're going to need a little. What are we doing in Ukraine right now? We're going to need a little taste. We're going to need a little
rare earth
action.
minerals.
So maybe you don't want this this land right here that we're going to build this this nice little base on, and maybe you buy a couple of more of our trucks, huh? Maybe this whole thing goes away. Like, how often do we have to be the mafiosos of the world before we realize, hey, dude, like, let's just stop spreading our democracy. Let's let it happen naturally. Just like every other human. If you're forcing something on it, what's it going to do? It's going to naturally respond by rejecting it. Let them come to the table. The whole world is a teenager. If you force your ideology on them, they won't like you. Let them come to the table and let them just slide a couple of things over your coffee while you're reading the newspaper. Just do your studies. Studies would have been easier if you were democratic, right? Okay, that's fine. Just do that. Just do it with a little grace and a little civility. They'll come right to you. They'll come right to you.
So I'm going to quote. I'm just going to read the first 4 paragraphs of this article verbatim, and I'm just throwing this out there at the beginning to any Romanian listeners. I'm going to butcher some names.
What number are we in the Romanian political podcast?
So just bear with me. I'm going to throw it up so the video watchers can read along with me. But for your audio only people, again, this is that article from the Libertarian Institute. Let me blow it up a little bit here. So
noise.
It's titled, and by the way, this will be in the show notes. So if you miss it and want to go read the article later, this and another one from antiwar.com are going to be in there, so you can get your feet wet with what's going on in Romania. So Romania is Dying by Ted Galen Carpenter, published on March 6th, just a few days ago. He says, quote, "The commitment of Washington's European allies to democracy is increasingly fragile, if not hypocritical, as Vice President J.D. Vance highlighted in his speech at the Munich Security Conference last month. That problem is most acute in Romania. In the first round of the country's presidential election on November 24th, 2024, Calin Georgescu, the candidate of a right-wing populist party, unexpectedly led the field. In addition to having populist social views, Georgescu is an outspoken critic of NATO. His apostasy on that issue makes him especially unacceptable to Romania's political establishment and its American supporters. The United States was already busily expanding its Mihail Cognealsu military base in Constantanta in southeastern Romania to eclipse even Washington's longtime principal European base. David, here it is, Rammstein.
Du hast mich. All right, I think I got the pronunciation of that right.
Yeah, Rammstein in Germany. The expanded
Don't say
facility.
It again,
it's coming. The expanded facility in Romania would be 50% larger than Rammstein. David.
Sorry.
And it would bring a massive U.S. military presence much closer to Russia. U.S. and Romanian officials were not pleased about the prospect of having those plans aborted by a new, less friendly government in Bucharest. To make matters even worse for the two parties in the current governing coalition, both the Social Democratic Party, PSD, and the National Liberal Party, PNL, failed to place a candidate in the runoff round. Instead, Elena Lasconi, a reformer representing another quote-unquote minor party, took the other runoff spot. Thus, the establishment parties would not be able to focus their fire exclusively on Georgescu in the hope of inflicting a decisive defeat on the Maverick. Instead, whichever outsider prevailed in the runoff would not be from the usual governing elite or be a reliable client of the United States and its NATO partners. The response of the beleaguered establishment was to get the country's election commission, which the PSD and PNL dominated, to nullify the first round election results. Romania's constitutional court, which the PSD and PNL also dominated, ratified the election commission's edict just 2 days before the runoff round was to be held. Instead, the court rescheduled that round for May 4th, 2025. Both the commission and the court alleged that the election had been tainted by, guess what? Quote, Russian interference. However, Neither body cited tangible evidence of such interference on Moscow's part,
Who knew?
much less established that the alleged meddling was sufficiently egregious to nullify the election results. So that's where we stand. And,
Who knew that the Clinton campaign could get all the way over there?
All the way to Romania.
All the way to Romania to pay for that Russian disinformation.
I have no doubt that some of their close friends and associates in NATO and the EU probably had a hand in, blaming Russian collusion.
When's Epstein going to kill himself over there?
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as we said in the Cliff Notes, and as you probably got from that, and again, the article's not much longer than what I read. So, probably a 5-minute read max. And then the other article probably about the same. So that'll kind of get you up to speed on all the pertinent details. What's going on there is foreign governments, right? Not the citizens of Romania. As a matter of fact, the citizens of Romania are being categorically ignored. But foreign governments, foreign powers outside of Romania are dictating to the citizens of Romania that they will have this base, which is currently proposed to be 50% larger than NATO's biggest base in the European Union at this point at Ramstein. They will have this base, which will be provocatively placed even closer to Russia, and they will like it. And they will take whatever edicts come down from Brussels and Washington, D.C., and if they don't like it, their candidate, I didn't get into the rest of that article, but as I said at the lead up, trying to run for the redo, he was arrested. And it does say in this article, what's the exact thing that they called it? They said that he was under, quote, judicial control. So not arrested. I misspoke. He's under judicial control so that they can keep tabs and make sure that, he doesn't do anything else, bad, like get elected by the Romanian people.
What exactly is judicial control, Dane?
Another, shorthand for that might be called arrest, but,
Okay. Okay. So jailing your political rivals over in Romania for democracy.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Exactly.
Thank God. I was worried that democracy would just let anybody run for presidency and then it let the majority choose. But I didn't know the definition of democracy. It's one of those moving targets. You can never really hit it. You never know what democracy is, but it always seems somehow if you talk to a Democrat, they know.
Yeah,
By
always.
God. Or a globalist. I mean, at this point, are they miles apart? Are they miles apart, Dave?
Venn diagram is damn near a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats, globalists, regime, cathedral. There's a lot of terms for these people.
1984, Orwellian, mass control. Fun little things. Democracy. Fucking hell.
So, like I said, keep this little factoid, this little tidbit in history in mind the next time you see them, losing their minds over, God forbid, the majority elected president of the United States, marginally tinkering with a budget program of one executive agency, and that's against democracy. Keep that in mind. Ask them about Romania. If they're even aware of it, they will have cheered what's going on in Romania.
When we're on the verge of World War III and the opening theater was Romania, refer back to this episode of Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast, and it'll point you in the right direction of where it all went wrong. So
we're proud of the self-ascribed banner of tomorrow's news today here on WMD podcast, but on that one, we genuinely hope we're wrong.
Yes, I hope we get this one absolutely wrong, and Romania is a piece of shit, or isn't a piece of shit, and chooses the Democratic side, which just somehow, some way always seems to favor American foreign interests. But, whatever. It's democracy.
Which nothing but the best for the Romanian people and God willing for the rest of the world, not to spark off something bigger than just, some regional issues over there. But that's where we stand. And,
it's just, I can't imagine until something that Russia really relies upon and needs, like a pipeline or something like that, blows up inexplicably, that they do. I just can't wait till that happens either. And totally unavoidable. That Putin, he's a real rascal over there.
Yeah,
you never know what he's going to do. He's up to something. But anyway, Dan, you got any more thoughts on this?
No, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to alert the memes, alert the sane spacers so that, they're not caught out of left field, because the NATO, EU, regime people, one world government people of the world, they always like to do what Robert Higgs called truncating the antecedent, which means any historical event, you just drop the pin on the timeline right where it's most convenient to make it look like the other person's the bad guy. So the most recent example of this was in Ukraine. They dropped the pin in February 2022 and they say, see, Putin's some crazy wild-eyed aggressor over here attacking some, peaceful little country that never did anything wrong. And they have truncated the antecedent by not going all the way back to 1991 forward and showing you the laundry list of promises made by the United States, the West, and NATO not to move NATO 1 inch east, closer to Russia, for 30 plus years, and promise after promise after promise being violated. In the same way, we like to tell you about this happening, and I'm sure the timeline goes back even further than this, but to put you on inoculate you, for lack of a better term, to them trying to truncate.
Be really into that kind of stuff nowadays.
From them trying to truncate this particular antecedent later, that if something bad does happen, they'll say, who could have ever seen this coming? Well, the WMD boys did, and not because we're anything special, but just because we read stuff from the Libertarian Institute. So go check them out, fund them. It's a 501c3. All donations are completely tax deductible. You should definitely go check them out. And as a matter of fact, go check them out right now because a generous donor has offered to match up to $60,000 in donations, and they've got 19,000 of it. So every dollar you give is doubled. So go support them. Go support their work. It's good over there, and we like those guys.
They're cool.
Now I really have nothing else to say.
Well, after that whole diatribe of having nothing else to say, Dane, where can they find episode 238 of Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast?
You can find this episode at wmdpodcast.com/238. They can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. They can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. While they're over at the website, make sure to check out the Support Our Work tab for all the ways you can support us monetarily, but also join the email list, like, subscribe, share, turn on notifications, comment, do all that algo boosting stuff on any platform you find us, and do the other big, great, grand, wonderful thing that we know you're doing after every episode, which is checking your list of friends and family that you think won't be completely turned off by the Sane Space, and telling them to give us a listen and join us on their favorite platform so we can grow the Sane Space and hopefully make the world a little more freer and a little less currently Romania.
And hey, if you need us to sex it up for you guys, get in the comments. Tell us how we can be sexier for these family members that are that need some sexuality with their politics. Let's kick it up. We're not old sticks in the mud. We can do the Macarena. Anyway,
we're for sale. Our price is about $5 a month.
Our bodies are ready for action. Anyway, until next week, guys, stay safe, but more importantly, stay free.